Right. So, any of these that we've got here now set up, as you move on through the unit, through 2, right through to 3, when it looks at behaviour management, establishing a safe working environment, how your own practice in creating and maintaining a safe environment are taken into account theories of behaviour management. Yeah. So there was some stuff on there for that. Did you read any of that?
I didn't read the amplification, but now I'm thinking I didn't put anything on.
I put some handouts on there for that, for behaviour management, just to give you some ideas, that's all, as much as anything else.
Okay.
But as we move into 4.1, design resources that adequately promote equality and diversity, demonstrate flexibility and adaptability in the use of inclusive learning. This is where you can refer back to any learners that have a learning issue, yeah?
Yeah.
Where you've adapted a scheme of work or more correctly, a lesson plan that picks that up, yeah?
Okay.
Yeah. Demonstrate ways to promote equality and value diversity in your own teaching. Now, when it's got demonstrate on here, some of this evidence for this will, of course, come from your teaching observations. Yeah.
Okay.
So it will say, you know, certain things. What I will do is I'll send you the NCFE form. Yeah.
Yeah.
This is for the person that actually observes you.
Yeah.
If your school has a form that covers all that and you prefer to use it, that is fine. It's not a problem. Yeah. But it must have the same criteria on that NCFE are put down there. So I'll send you a copy of that so you can have a look at it on take to whoever's going to observe you. They can have a look through it. Yeah. It's a simplified form. It's not complex, so they may prefer to actually use it.
Yeah, I think so.
So this looking at 4, if you look at it sort of from an abstract point of view, it's be able to apply the theories and principles and models of learning and communication into delivering it. So again, you'll be able to explain how you do this. You'll be able to use some records, but you'll also be able to use the evidence from your observation list as well. Yeah. Anywhere where it says in here demonstrate, it's asking you for some practical evidence as well as, yeah.
Okay.
So promote easy, flexible delivery models, engaging with learners themselves, valuing diversity, awareness of individual needs, adapting approaches and modes of learning, use of integrated approaches and responsive to individuals. Innovative use of peer teaching and peer assessment. Now, that actually, in your situation, is a no-go, really, because they're not of an age group that can do that.
Yeah.
This is more like for adult learners, or for certainly year 11, 10, 11, things like that. 12.
Yeah.
Any discussions with learners, or in your case, discussions about learners, yeah? Their situation is 4.4.
Okay.
Again, teaching practice portfolio, records, observation of teaching practice, learners' individual learning plans can be added in at this as well. The ones you've already got.
Yeah.
You can refer back to those for this one, encouraging progression. And this encouraging progression works in a lot of different ways. If you're working with special needs, their progression routes will differ greatly within a small group, yeah, because the assessed achievement levels will be quite disparate between a group of say half a dozen children, and they will have all their own individual goals, won't they, to achieve?
Yeah.
So again, this encouraging progression, identifying learner options and communicating with parents, negotiating. Well, this is work placements. If they, to give you an example, one of the students who's just completed she works with the final year, and they have got a partnership agreement with the local health trust, and they go for placement into hospitals and clinics, and the ones that want to, that is, and actually take that as part of the GCSE.
Oh, okay.
So again, all it's doing, this amplification, it just shows you, it gives you more of an insight into how wide the teaching sphere is. Because what tends to happen, I noticed this when I first went into teaching, that you get very enclosed in the little bit that you're doing. You get very focused on it, and you don't realise just how wide the pathways are within that as you progress,
I think that's where it was 4.4, where I thought, do I need to put in new IEPs?
No. If you keep into your mind all the time that this process moves on from before teaching through the teaching process into the assessment process. It's one thing after another, and what you are doing basically is answering what's asked here from the situation you are working in, and how it applies to you, and how you deal with these criteria that come up. Because the criteria themselves, if you just read one as a blank criteria, and it says communicate with learners, learning professionals, and others to meet individual learning needs and encourage progression. Now you can fit that into just about every teaching circumstance. There'll be probably more documentation in your area because of the situation, and parents will be involved, and there will be reports to parents. Parents' needs and comments will actually go into how they achieve their goals, doesn't it?
They have an input and decide.
They've got quite an input. Whereas if you go further, when you get to sort of the group that is in, I've just been discussing now, that go out into placement, they get the parents' permission if they're under 16, but that's about it. The parents have very little input or involvement in that.
Okay.
Explain how your own delivery of inclusive teaching and learning has taken into account theories, principles and models of learning. So really, you just look at some of the theories, principles and models of learning that are on the VLE. You can have a read at some of those and just say where, with those theories, how you actually operate. Or if a lot of them don't apply in your circumstance, by all means say so. There are no, how can I say, there are no wrong answers really. Well, there are, you can be off topic altogether. But I mean, that's the only way you can have a wrong answer, is to be just totally off topic. If you're on topic and it's about what you do, then basically there are no wrong answers. You are telling me, this is what I do and that's how I achieve that assessment criteria. So if you look at it from that point of view, whenever you get stuck or think about something, if you think about that one thing only, that sometimes clarifies what you need to do. So 5.1, we have moved slightly here now. Design assessments. That meet the needs of individual learners. Now the assessment process that your special needs go through is quite complex, isn't it? So you need to explain that,
Okay.
How they're assessed, I don't like using the word because it's not a word that I like, but it does actually happen. They're categorised as well, aren't they? I don't like that word. I don't know why, but I just don't like it. But they are categorised, and it then gives you a pathway, doesn't it? And they work from there. So that assessments, in your case, will need to be the way, and again, they are holistic, your assessments, because they're not just So they're not just academic achievements, it's a whole host of things, yeah? So it is a holistic assessment that you do with them, yeah?
Yeah.
What I've also asked, or we went through a little bit on here, where you've got an explanation of where assessment and learner engagement meet. That is a little bit more difficult. Then what you can do with this one, where it's be able to apply models and theories and demonstrate flexibility and adaptability in using types and method of assessment to meet individual needs. That will then fall into place for you fairly straightforwardly, yeah? Because you'll be able to explain how about the things we've just been talking about now, yeah?
Yeah.
So what you could do is examples of any adapted assessment activities, records of negotiations with example assessment activities, those individual learning plans or records of achievement. So again, you will have those very clear as well, because there will be individual plans, individual goals, yeah, and there'll be records of whether that's achieved or whether it isn't achieved and why it wasn't achieved. I know they're quite detailed. I did get involved with one student that is actually in SEN. She works in that all the time, and you know, I learned quite a lot myself actually during that process.
Yeah.
Right.
I think that's where I got up to 5.3.
Yeah. Well, again, this is how you can explain again how that's done, how that goes. One of where we are. Demonstrate the use of assessment data in monitoring learners' achievement, attainment and progress, setting learners' targets, planning subsequent sessions and recording the outcomes of assessment. Right. That is done. I mean, you will have that documentation. Now, where you use, you need to choose 2 students to use, yeah? And use actual documentation that's been completed, yeah?
Okay.
Just blank out the names.
Yeah.
Call them learner A and B or 1 and 2 or whatever you want to, and refer to that in your text. If you just take the names out, that's fine.
Okay.
Names of other people involved, that doesn't matter, yeah, because they're results anyway. It's just that under the new rules, you've got to be careful about what you actually say and don't say.
Yeah.
So, come on, that's it. So 5.3 is about monitoring achievement, individual learning plans and records of achievement. This is where you need those 2 specific ones that you can show how the plan's been formulated, what their achievement goals are, and as you progress through that, whether they've been achieved or not, yeah? Okay. So you can look at two of your learners, say, from last year, yeah? And how they get the original documents and copy those, and then work through and say where we've achieved at this point, or where they're up to at this point.
Yeah, okay.
Again, 5.4 is just actually communicating the assessment information to other professionals with an interest in the learner achievement. So again, you will be working with other professionals in that sphere, plus the parents, like we said, yeah, to monitor how they've progressed.
Yeah. So we just use an Iep monitoring form.
Yeah.
And then we look at the outcomes according to that. So we have the 3 targets that we set them, and whether they've been achieved independently, achieved with adult support, or achieved via visual gestures and prompts.
Yeah, exactly. So you've got the documentation there, yeah? Use it. And then just explain. It saves an awful lot. I mean, you could write forever on how this actually happens, but if you've got a document in place, or a couple of documents in place that you're going to use, you can just put C document, such and such a thing, and just quickly explain how it's done. A couple of paragraphs, and it fulfills the requirement on there. Wherever you can use documentation, use it. Because like I said, it explains very quickly what you need to do, what you've done, sorry, and how you've achieved that and where it meets these targets on here.
Okay.
Again, explaining how your own assessment practice is taken into account the theories, models and principles of assessment. Okay. Now, there are various models and principles of assessment. What a couple of previous students have done where they're not in a position where they do that type of assessment, they did a little bit of research into it and added that in, as well as how they actually, you know, how their assessment practice takes into account of that. But then they've gone on to say, you know, in other areas of teaching, assessment is done by the formative assessment and summative assessment, and et cetera, et cetera. So they did a little bit of research in there and just added a couple of paragraphs in on that to show they got a wider understanding of the assessment process.
Okay.
Now this one is, again, easier, well, not easier, but it will be, you will have the ability to be able to do that, because part of the process that you go through with SEN is looking at the minimum core, yeah?
Yeah.
Reading and writing and being able to actually expression, yeah?
Mm-hmm.
And comprehension, yeah? Those areas, again, be able to implement expectations of the minimum core in planning, delivering and assessing, and inclusive teaching and learning. So again, analyse the ways in which minimum core elements can be demonstrated in the planning, delivering and assessing. So again, that's quite often down to the resources you use, yeah?
Yeah.
Sample materials and the resources in your situation, yeah?
Yeah.
Making use of naturally occurring evidence, developing skills for the workplace. Again, that is an area outside your scope at the moment, yeah. But that's how it works. I mean, if you read up on some of that, it'll tell you that, you know, in work-based learning, the assessor will have to make an assessment plan with the person to be assessed. It may be that if he's in a workplace situation, he will have to get you'll have to get permission, or the assessor will have to get permission of his manager or supervisor. It may be time. It may be there may be a critical time when he can perform this assessment, and no other time. So there may be a lot of restrictions on how that can be assessed and when, and there may be, you know, multiple people involved to get that assessment done. Something I did years ago. I used to assess apprentices. I think I told you I used to be a mechanical engineer. And I used to assess apprentices out in the workplace in all sorts of places. And there were a whole host of things. I had to have safety equipment on, all the things that went with that to actually perform the assessment.
So like risk assessments?
Yeah, very much so. Most companies nowadays, or larger ones anyway, have got basically a risk assessment for all their operations. And the first thing any person who's going to perform a job of work or a sequence of jobs of work will go through those risk assessments first and make some notes, and then set up and, you know, produce whatever it is they're supposed to be producing.
Yeah.
Those risk assessments are done to make sure nothing goes wrong. So it's in everybody's interest to make sure that happens. I go back to a time when we didn't have a Health and Safety at Work Act. Believe it or not, that only came in 1974. Prior to 1974, we worked under the Factories Act from 1893, and there wasn't a lot of safety taken, put it that way. And it's all changed since 74, and it's made actually operations really safe. You don't really hear many times these days of somebody being killed at work. Construction industry perhaps still has a bit of a record, but they are working really hard to improve that, and have done over the last few years, purely because of changing the methods and the way they do it. Each job now with them has a method statement as well. of how it's going to be done to make sure there are no hiccups. But again, still people do things they shouldn't do, and accidents happen. So yeah, so it's looking at how the minimum core is in the planning, and then apply minimum core elements in the planning, delivering and assessing of inclusive teaching and learning. So you can show sort of language, question and answer, pair work, discussion, individual presentations, professional discussion, literacy, reading, note-taking, written assessment, projects, research, examination, numeracy, a whole host of things in there, statistical interpretation, measurement, proportions, all those things are for older years, yeah?
Yeah.
ICT and word processing, although I saw something on TV about a good bunch of 4-year-olds that were doing a programming course, which I found quite interesting. But yeah, that's the way things are going.
Yeah.
So individual activities that lead to portfolio building or session plans or assessment activities and teacher observations and feedback record. One of the one of the students doing SEM special needs was she did a lot of the feedback she got from the learners was during discussion, where they sat around the table and they're talking. What I got her to do was make some notes, and then she put her notes down and explained, you know, how this gave her feedback. Yeah.
Mm.
Again, how it's achieved in your school. I'm going to go on to 7 because 7 and 8. Whoops. Theories, models of reflection on how to evaluate. So you've got to look at some of the theories and models of self-reflection. If you go back to my mod, I'll shut that one down a minute. Oh, right, here we are. Oops. So, analyse ways in which minimum correlates can be demonstrated, use of diagnostic tests, English, maths, IT, explanation of how they apply and fit in on your course. They may not all be in your course, but say why, yeah?
Mm.
Again, you need to apply the evidence of task 7.1 to show how they help in planning and deleting. All right. Why have I put deleting? That doesn't make sense, does it? Delivering.
How they help in planning and observing, maybe? Delivery.
Delivering it is. Funny how you read these all so many times, and each time you'll spot something. Wow, I've never noticed that before. Yeah, I mean that's probably been there a year. And running into 8, it's reviewing the effectiveness of your own practice. Now this is a reflective view of your own practice. Check additional material needed to comply with. Oh, forget that one for now. There's almost a similar question in Unit 3. Yeah, but it's looking at a theoretical view, whereas this is a practical one. So again, it's a sort of thing that teachers do on a regular basis, actually. But this is actually formalising it. It's where you've done a session, and you think afterwards, I shouldn't have done that, or I shouldn't have said that, or that didn't fit in there. I should have done this instead. You'd go through that process in your head quite a lot. What you need to do is just write it down. After you've done a session, have a good think about it and make some notes. Yeah. And that's your reflective view. Yeah. Of your own practice. How you've actually gone about that practice, how you planned it, did you plan it right, was it delivered okay, and did you record the outcomes, yeah, from that session?
Yeah.
And that way it follows on to 8.2, ideas from your reflection of learning outcome 7 in, Unit 3. Task can be cross-referenced to that. That is wrong. I've done that wrong as well. .1, I should say. Ideas from reflection of learning outcome in 8.1. When you've done your reflection, identify areas for improvement in own practice in planning, delivering, assessing, inclusive teaching and learning. So basically, you're looking at ideas that you've come up with from your reflection. If you can improve on things, how you're going to do that. One of the things I try to get all students to do, irrespective of this course, it's just a good practice. Do you have a personal development plan?
I did one for using the template. I did send it off to you guys.
This is one for you. A personal development plan it can be your dreams and aspirations at one end. But there can be practical ones in there that you need to achieve or must achieve. This course can be on there.
It is.
Part of your development plan. Why do you want to do it? What do you want to achieve at the end of it?
Exactly. That's what I've written in my plan.
So once you've got a plan together, you can. It's something that never ends, really. Believe it or not, I've still got one. What it looks at is, I'll give you an example. I've been a quality assurer for, where are we? 1991. That's a long time back, but things have changed. Things change all the time. Am I still conversant with everything that should be? So I need to go on refresher courses for different awarding bodies to have a look at what they're looking at as best practice. Am I achieving that? Is there something I can change? And one of the things I've changed is to look at this document that we've got here. I've got you to put it at the head of your unit, so that I can progress it as we work through, That's one of the things that I've learned from an external verifier, and be able to put page numbers in here so that you've got a direct audit trail as to where everything is. So that's gone down on my development plan. Make sure you can actually put material together that will make it easier for the learner or student, and for the people that are going to be assessing it afterwards, and the quality assurance after that, so that the process is embodied as closely as possible into as little documentation as possible. So again, at the end, it's all these suggestions help you use the naturally occurring evidence that you produce day to day in your work as a teacher. Again, some of it might not cover all the practices, but you can get the information from within your school. There are, I'm trying to think of which unit it is now. It's another unit further in where you will have to look at if your school has any sort of partnerships agreement with any other organisation, or even with the local authority, and how that works with social services and things like that. And a lot of schools have that in place, but it's understanding how to use it, that's all. Anyway, that's enough of that unit. We're still on unit 1 yet. So I just want to go back to the end of 3. Looking at 4 again. It's looking at feedback on 4. Sorry, on the end of 3. Behaviourisms is 4. Equality and diversity is 4. Safe and inclusive learning environment. That's all about preparing the teaching situation, if you're a school has got health and safety policy, you can explain how it's implemented. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Again, the college will have an equality and diversity policy. Yeah.
Yeah.
You can if it's a big one. Some schools will have one that's a couple of pages. Yeah.
Yeah.
If you can copy that, put that in as appendices and refer to it. Yeah. Again, it'll save writing if you've got a document you can refer to.
Yeah.
Oh, I've got an enormous cat at the side of me. He just scratched me. Yeah, on there. So I will just have a quick look on back on here. Oops. Legislation, codes of practice, assessment theory. Yeah, got something there on assessment theory. I've got inclusive teaching strategies. I thought I had something on behaviour there, and I haven't. Maybe it's on another part. Let's have a quick look.
Yeah, behaviour.
Whereabouts was
that? Down at Unit 2. Down there. Fifth last. Yeah.
Yeah, it's on there. So you pull that up. Oh, it's one I've written, I think. No, it's not. It's not got my name at the bottom. It's one I pinched from somewhere else. Yeah. Again, it's looking at managing behaviour in the classroom. Yeah. And there's a whole host of bits in there. You can have a read through to see if it, if it fits in with what you've got. There are some links on there as well that you can have a look at too. So, back onto that. So that Unit 4, there's sufficient information on there, but again, you need to look at your equality and behaviour. It may be that the school has, well, they're a bit young to come under the disciplinary policy, aren't they? But the school will have one, I've no doubt.
Yeah.
But, yeah, so you can refer to that as well. Because this is actually a slightly more academic one. It's not quite as personal as the rest of it. Yeah. Again, health and safety, and inclusive environment. Inclusive means you've got a range of learners in, but also making sure it's safe. If you're using new technology, make sure you've not got wires all over the place and things like that, you know, so the classroom is actually a safe place to negotiate rather than a bit of a nightmare. It can be. I've seen some that were really off-putting. Quick synopsis of 5 again. We're looking at analyse the effectiveness of teaching and learning approaches used in your own area of specialism, relating to meeting individual needs of learners. Do the approaches that you use meet the needs of learners, or do you think they don't? Or do you think they could be improved? Yeah. So your analysis, I mean, this is looking at some of the 4 is just explain or establish and such thing. That is part of your. Some of that evidence will come from your observation as well, of course. Yeah.
Mm.
Establish if you have established one. Yeah. In fact, it's a criteria on the form. That. Yeah.
Yeah.
Analyze the effectiveness of your own area. Analyze the benefits and limitations of the communication methods. Analyze the effectiveness of the resources. So again, this one is it can be a critique of what you've got or haven't, as the case may be. Yeah.
Mhm.
So by all means, tell it like it is. What you do, why it's effective, or how it could be more effective. How you communicate. Is it an effective method of communication? What are the barriers it causes? What are the best benefits that you get from it? And again, analyse the effectiveness of the resources. Do they meet your needs and the student needs, or can they be improved? Is it something that you would really like that would make life a lot easier?
Yeah.
Spelling mistake again. Choose your delivery method and explain why they meet the needs of learners, how you actually deliver. Yeah. Again, have a read at the resource on that as well.
Yeah.
So, again, 5 is quite a long one. It goes up to 5.7. So what I would do is we've had a look at 6, yeah. But only a look at it. I would leave 6 for now and focus on 4. It's quite a short one, yeah.
Yeah.
It's somewhat theoretical. 5 is a long one, and it's a more personal thing. It's literally how you actually operate yourself in the circumstance that you're in.
Yeah.
Okay. So from there, have you any bits that you're not sure about that you?
I think I just want to see if 3 and 4 is going okay.
Well, okay. As I said,
I'll
have a look at 4 as soon as we finish tonight, and then
Yeah.
I'll come back to you later on tonight. Certainly, yeah. I'm back in the office tomorrow, so I'll need to get it done tonight. Yeah, I've got a lot of stuff on tomorrow in the office.
Yeah.
So, yeah. If you're all right up to there, then I'll close the meeting now and get on with that one and send it back to you.
Perfect. Thank you.
Okay. Thanks for attending. We'll
Thank
close the meeting now and get back to you soon.
Perfect. Thank you. Take
Bye.
care. Bye. Bye.